Dr. Nikki. I have had people suggesting I do, requesting I do, waiting for me to make a podcast for a couple years now, probably more than a couple. But I want to give a special shout out to my niece Ryan for giving me the final push that I needed. I am a licensed psychologist. I'm a sex and pleasure coach. I work predominantly with Black women around racial and sexual wellness. But this podcast is starting because I am currently a daughter who is grieving the loss of her mother. And so this is going to be the first part of a series called Dr. Nikki Knows Grief. So one of the things about grief and grieving that for me right now, in these early days at least, is this, what they call disbelief. My mother's death was unexpected. I knew she wasn't in amazing health, but she didn't have, there was no slow illness that we sort of expected to end in her death. She wasn't hospitalized for days. I saw her on a Sunday night, and on Monday morning, she was non-responsive and never woke up and never recovered. I made the decision to remove her from life support. I stayed in the hospital with her those 2 nights that she was non-responsive and unconscious. I was in the room next door when she transitioned. I was with her within moments of her transitioning. I got to hold her hand. I got to talk to her. I got to give her kisses. I got to rub her forehead. I got to be with her. So I know that she's gone. It's not disbelief, but it is like my brain and my body in this current reality is trying to catch up with this alternate reality that is my life without my mother. And it comes at the most random, minuscule, seemingly superficial, unexpected moments. And it is so crazy making. So just tonight, I was watching this series on Prime Video. It's called Reacher. It is all the things that my mother enjoyed in television. So there's like some bad guys, and there's a definite good guy, and he's big and strong, and he's whooping ass and taking names, and it's guns and car chases and unconventional crime solving, and maverick, investigator. You can't quite figure out all the pieces on the chessboard. And so she loved all of that. And it's a show I told her about. It's a show we watched together in its first season. It's one of the last shows I watched with her during Christmas before all of this happened. And so tonight I put it on to intentionally finish watching in honor of her, as a way to sort of distract myself. And I'm watching the show knowing that all of this is true. And when the episode ends, I still think, let me call my mama so we can unpack this episode. So it's not disbelief. It's not delusion. It is this really awful, exhausting, frustrating, heart-wrenching double consciousness. Because that then begins to immediately trigger all sorts of other feelings like anger and outrage and deep sadness. And for me, my grief has also been this like weight over my heart, a sense of nausea. Like it has these physical manifestations as well. And the crazy part is, this is what I have that keeps me closest to her. I don't know how the grieving process evolves for a loss of this magnitude. There have been moments over the last, I would say, 3 days where I've had increasing periods of time where I'm feeling more normal. My head feels a bit more clear. I can breathe a little bit deeper. And then there are moments where I feel like I'm slammed right back into the pit of grief. And I don't know which one is better. I know psychologically, long term, I have to accept this. I have to be in a state where I am clear-headed. I have to return to my life. I have to be an entrepreneur and a therapist, and I have to be a coach, and I have to, most importantly, be a mom, and I have to reclaim a whole entire life for myself. And I know that's what my mother would want. I know she would pop me upside the back of my head if I let myself get stuck. So I know that's the goal. I don't know how to get there. I don't know how long it will take. I don't know how to be settled in that idea that I will live in a world that will feel good and joyful and stable and normal without my mother. And there's a real tension between knowing that that's the goal and accepting that that is the goal.